Would help if I clean these, huh? Oh, my God. Good evening and welcome to the Township of Clark Council meeting. It is Monday, March 20th, 7:30 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Here.
Councilman Hund.
Here.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Here.
Councilman Manitti.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Councilman Toll.
Here.
Council President Smith.
Here, can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, as adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by mailing the annual schedule of meetings to the Star-Ledger, Union County Hawk, Union County Local Source, and Tappan to Clark. By posting such annual meeting schedule on the bulletin board and town hall reserved for such announcements, the official website of the township, and the proper filing of said notice. Formal action may be taken at this meeting.
Thank you. We're going to move to communications from the mayor and reports of the township officers. Mayor Bonacorso.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to keep it brief because I know we got some people here tonight that want to talk about flood mapping. We don't want to keep them out too late. So I just want to say to the community that our spring lawn leaf branch cleanup has started. If you're cleaning up your properties with your winter debris, with your branches, grass, leaves, put it out. You can keep putting it out now through the third week of April. We will come around the fourth week of April and clean it up for you, but we will be around in between that. The last time that we can say it's random would be the fourth week of April. After that, we begin our regularly scheduled branch cleanup in May, which is put your branches out the third week. We'll pick them up on the fourth week, no appointment necessary. Now, I've been saying this for 22 years, 23, going on 23 years now, and no one seems to listen. We're going to ask you to please don't put debris in the street. The third week, put it out. The fourth week, we'll take it. Keep it safe for pedestrians, bicyclists, and motor vehicle drivers. Branches can cause a hazard. So in the meantime, have fun, knock yourself out, do all you want, and we'll go from there. The holidays coming up, the Easter egg hunt, I'm sure Councilman Smith will have a report on that, will be happening. We look forward to seeing all the kiddies out for the Easter egg hunt. Spring is here. I just said earlier, please drive safely. The police are out, they're doing a great job on our roads, and we don't need to see you standing back in this building in front of the municipal court judge. We don't want that to happen. We want everybody to drive safely and watch. I see a lot of things out on Facebook, people speeding down people's roads. There's people here in town that do that, unfortunately, and there's people here that come throughout the town and speed through different neighborhoods. Let's be careful before we have a fatality, be it a motor vehicle, a child walking, a pedestrian walking, or somebody on a bicycle. Speaking of police, the Clark Police Department reported for this month there was 46 radar details put out by patrol captain, 199 stops, and there was 12 traffic enforcement details. Something new they've started a couple of months ago, that they're stationed a patrol car at certain areas of the town that have no left-hand turns, people deciding just to go do that, and different areas that they're not observing the traffic laws on the signs and what they can and cannot do. So it's something they've been doing a lot more of now, is the traffic enforcement. And I'll end it there because we have people waiting. So have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bonacorso. Councilwoman Albanese.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to give the library report from Megan Kolochik, our library director. This past month in February, we had a total of approximately 8,400 website visits and social media visits and 6,700 on-site visits at the library. Some of the programs that are coming up this month include Computer and Technology Help, and this will be held every Tuesday in the month of April. From 1 to 3, you'll be able to work with one of our Clark Library volunteers and learn one-on-one whatever topics you want to cover, or work in a group. We also have the librarians available by appointment for 30-minute appointments on the first and third Thursday of the month from 3 to 4 p.m. to cover any topics you would like to cover. The Union County Aging Services Kiosk will be on site on Monday, April 10th, from 10 to 12 p.m. So if you have any questions about services available in Union County for seniors or their caregivers, please come and visit the Union County Aging Services Kiosk and speak with one of the specialists to get your answers. Dogman Afternoon will be held on Tuesday, April 11th at 3 p.m. And this, if you come by, you'll be able to do a craft, and activity stations will be available, and there'll be prize drawings for those in attendance. There'll be a paint, a pot, plant, and flower program for children ages 4 and up on Wednesday, April 12th at 2 p.m., and then also a paint and pot plant flower program for all ages. This is a family event or a group event if you want to get a group together. Mix up everyone. This is on Thursday, April 13th, from 6:30 to 7:30. And for children, they prefer ages 6 and up to paint the pot and plant the flower in it. There'll be cupcake decorating with sweet icings by Amy on Thursday, April 13th, 3 to 4 p.m. And you'll get to decorate 2 cupcakes, 1 bunny and 1 with sprinkles. And there'll be an April Showers craft. This is for adults and teens joined together on Saturday, April 15th at 1 p.m. So paint your own wall decoration by blending different types of acrylic paints and achieve a rainbow ombre. On April 16th, Sunday Story Time at 2 p.m., there'll be interactive stories, songs, and a butterfly craft for children of all ages. And finally, on April 20th at 7 p.m., there'll be a performer, an actress who will present a woman telling her version of what it was like the last night on the Titanic. She's performed at different events and told different stories, and it's been quite a success. So if you're interested in that program, that'll be on April 20th, Thursday night at 7 p.m. And that concludes my report on the library. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Councilman Hund.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the Clark Police Department monthly report for February. We saw a total of 2,402 calls for services, of which 128 were ambulance requests, 2 were fire department requests, 10 were motor vehicle lockouts, 68 were alarm calls, 66 were motor vehicle accidents, and 2,116 were miscellaneous calls. There was a total of 6 adult arrests, including but not limited to 2 for robbery, 2 for theft, and 1 warrant. There was a total of 16 juvenile arrests, including but not limited to 1 for theft, 2 for burglary, 2 for harassment, 1 weapons offense, and 1 for terroristic threats, 3 offenses against the family, and 1 for truancy. All 16 were in-house disposition. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Hunt. Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes, thank you, Council President. This is my DPW report this evening. Electronic drop-off is March 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the DPW yard behind this building. Please, they will not take compact fluorescent lights, so don't bring any of them, please. As the mayor mentioned, spring cleanup will begin late March, weather permitting. You could start to put your debris curbside for pickup. Try to leave about a 1-foot distance between the debris and the curb to allow for water runoff if it rains. Bulky and metal pickup started this month by ward. There are 2 separate appointments needed, 1 for bulky and 1 for metal. Please make your appropriate appointments. And there's hardwood mulch available. I'm hearing it's very good mulch. There's 2 sizes. A small load is 3 to 4 yards. A large load is 5 to 7 yards. Please contact DPW at ourclark.com to schedule. It will be delivered to your driveway on Fridays. So please make a note of that. And please remove all the nets and hockey and soccer nets from the roadway after your children has played on the roads. We don't want to damage our equipment or your nets, so put them on your property away from the road. One last request, a special request from our DPW supervisor, Scott McCabe. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not flush any wipes down in your toilet, even if they say flushable. There are numerous sore issues, especially last week in the 3rd Ward. Please coin the phrase, no wipes in the pipes. Please, this is causing a big problem, and it's going to cause a backup onto your property and your home. So please, refrain from any wipes. That is Lysol wipes, sanitary wipes. And that's the extent of my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Councilman Minetti.
Thank you, Council President. In the month of February, the Clark Fire Department responded to 35 calls. The calls included but not limited to numerous odor and alarm calls. 5 calls were related to motor vehicles and 2 calls related to mutual aid from surrounding towns. As always, I would like to thank the members of the Clark Fire Department for their hard work and dedication in keeping our town safe. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minetti. Councilman O'Connor.
Thank you. From the Finance Committee, tonight we'll be introducing the 2023 municipal budget with the public hearing on April 17th. And then from the Clark Volunteer Emergency Squad, the squad has recruited 2 new adult members, those over 18, and 2 new cadets. They currently have been trained in CPR and first aid, and they look forward to getting them trained as EMTs. Our monthly blood drive continues to be a great support to the community. Please consider stopping in to donate. Each pint of blood can save 3 lives, and the squad has submitted their LoSAP report. There were 103 calls in February with 11 mutual aids calls into surrounding towns, which does not include any calls which were dispatched and canceled on. The total hours responding to calls is approximately 773 man-hours. This does not include any hours the members are on duty when there are no calls. With regard to membership, we are continuing to interview for daytime EMT positions, have hired 1 new member, and have 2 additional interviews scheduled. We continue to look for new members to join. Anyone interested can email us at membership@clarkems.org. And the squad continues to seek people with public relations, fundraising, website design, and social media savvy. Please reach out to Lori Sheldon if you're interested at cveslaur@aol.com. And current happenings within the squad. The squad is continuing to closely monitor a bill currently being considered that would require all state EMTs to complete a criminal background report every 2 years. Currently, their certifications are 3 years and must be done by the FBI or state contracted agency. The New Jersey Department of Health, OEMS, who is charged with oversight of EMS in New Jersey, has issued new protocols and are making multiple changes to their educational process. The squad will continue to stay on top of these changes to ensure all members are compliant with regulations. The squad is preparing for activities for the township to participate for the National EMS Week, which is May 21st through the 27th. And finally, a recent article posted in the Star Ledger and online showed an ambulance accident within the township of Clark. This was not the Clark Volunteer Emergency Squad. It was a paid transport company that was found to have violated many regulations and as such has their license suspended by the state. The squad keeps careful oversight on the credentials of our members. So again, this was not our emergency squad. It was a paid transport company. Just want to make sure everybody understands that. All right, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Toll.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. A report from the Environmental Commission. The annual Rahway River cleanup will be held on Saturday, April the 22nd, 2023. All residents wishing to participate shall meet at the Winfield Park Dam at 8 a.m. The cleanup will concentrate from the Winfield Dam and go east along the Rahway River till it gets to the Jackson Falls or the Valley Road Bridge, where both sides are done, and then they continue on into Rahway Park. Again, it's a participation of not just Clark residents, but Union County residents to help out Mother Nature. If anyone's interested in getting involved in this, we're basically picking up recyclables and things like that to get washed out. We do the Rahway River in the spring and the Clark Reservoir in the fall. So if anyone's interested in this, please, you can write to Rahway River Cleanup at Comcast.net or contact Joe Zebo through the director of this event. It can be reached at Town Hall through the Environmental Commission. Again, Rahway River Watershed Association.com. If you're interested in participating, we really would need your help because it's a lot of fun to see parts of Rahway, Clark, Winfield Park that you normally don't see. And we appreciate your support. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. I have a brief pool and recreation report. The Recreation Department will be hosting its annual Easter egg hunt on Saturday, April 1st from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Recreation Center. Spring registration for all programs and classes is going on now. Please register ASAP. All information is on the Clark website at ourclark.com, and you can go to the Recreation tab, or you could always call Ralph Bernardo or Emily Lambert in the rec office at 732-428-8400. And membership registrations for the Clark Community Pool is also open now. All that information is under the Pool Utility tab on the website. And last but not least, the Clark Little League and Girls Softball Parade is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd at 9 a.m. They'll march down Westfield Ave from the Exxon station all the way to the softball and Little League complexes. And that's my report for this evening. Okay, when you're ready, Madam Clerk, we can move on to ordinances, appropriations, and claims.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, no objections have been received in connection with the proposed ordinances. First is Ordinance 23-10, ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the Township of Clark, County of Union, New Jersey, adopting that redevelopment plan titled Redevelopment Plan Block 91, lots 8.01, 10.01, and 36, also known as 27 to 33 Westfield Avenue and 26 Washington Street, Township of Clark, Union County, New Jersey.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open this part of the meeting open to the public. If anyone would like to come forward, please do so. Please state your name and address to the clerk. Thank you.
Bill Venezia, 1 Hickory Street, Clark, New Jersey. Just want to talk about, you had alluded to no wipes in the sewer.
Excuse me, sir. We're just talking about agenda items and this particular ordinance. There'll be a moment at the end of the meeting to come up and speak about anything you want.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll see you in a few minutes. Thank you. If anyone wants to come up to speak about this specific ordinance, okay, seeing no one, I'd like to close this portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Second, Councilman Toll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This time, I'd like a motion to adopt the ordinance.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Minetti. Any discussion? Jim, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll give another brief update on this, as we've discussed at a few other meetings, because it's gone back and forth between to do it back and forth to the planning board and back to the council. But, overall, there's 8 different criteria for, identifying a property in need of redevelopment. The reasons were, at least for this property, it's substandard, obsolete, and part of our smart growth. It's been reviewed by the planning board. The planning board actually agrees with the assessment and looking for the council's approval.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Minetti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted. Okay. Next is Ordinance 23-11, an ordinance of the Township of Clark, County of Union, approving the application and financial agreement for a tax exemption pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law for Raritan Road Holdings Urban Renewal LLC for the construction and operation of a CubeSmart branded self-storage facility located at 1088 Raritan Road.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the public hearing on this ordinance regarding the CubeSmart. If anyone would like to come forward, please state your name, address to the clerk, and you'll have 5 minutes. Okay, at this time, I'd like a motion to close this portion of the...
Moved.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Second, Councilman Albanese. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This time, a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'd like to move that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Minetti. Any discussion? Jim, go ahead.
Yes, so this is the 30-year agreement with CubeSmart. It's in, behind its wetlands, it's an area that needs to be redeveloped. This is a very low-impact use. It's not going to be housing, it's going to be for self-storage. And, it's, this agreement is giving everybody the ability to, take advantage of, or the owner the advantage of taking a piece of property that's not really usable and put something there that's valuable to the town. The thing that I do want to make clear is that, throughout this process, and I've heard rumors on different things, but they are still paying the property taxes in the regular. So the schools aren't going to lose any money. The schools are being paid now what they're being paid, and they're going to continue to pay property taxes based on the value of the property. It's the building that the pilot is on. So I just want to, dispel that rumor that the township is taking the money away from the school.
I would just, Mr. President,
Yeah,
one second. In many towns throughout New Jersey, when they do a pilot, the school gets shortchanged. We made a commitment here a few years back when this started to not shortchange the schools, because then we would be robbing Peter to pay Paul. We would say, okay, look at the money we're bringing in on this, and the school would say, look at the money we're losing on this, and it's then ridiculous because the township budget would profit and the school board budget would hurt. So we're being fair, we respect the taxpayers, and we want to make sure our school district has the money they need to function, and we have the money we need to function. The advantage is really in the county taxes. Instead of paying them 25%, we only have to pay them 5% by law, so the municipal budget would have a 20% more, which would help us, which I think is only fair, because in our generosity, even with the schools, whenever there's a tax appeal, we are the collector of the tax dollar at our tax office, and that it gets split up between the schools, the county, and of course the municipality. But when there's a tax appeal, it comes 100% out of our budget, and that is unfair. But it's been that way for a long time, and I don't see it changing, so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bonacorso. Anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to say, so this is in the second ward. This is across the street from Clarkton Shopping Center where the Clark Lunchbox used to be, that little lot of land there. And from what we understand, they're not going to change the traffic light. The entrance and exit is still going to be where it was. So that's all going to be same. Like the BA was talking about, they are still paying taxes. What's interesting is the more profitable this business becomes, the more revenue we'll get from it, because as the 30 years goes on, as they make more revenue, we're going to get a percentage of that revenue. So in the long run, this is a great deal for the Township of Clark. It's a great deal for the Township of Clark with regard to, again, it's an environmentally challenged area, right? There's wetlands in the back. What are they going to put? We've all heard, and unfortunately we need to deal with, the influx of housing we have in town. Well, these people are going to need to store their stuff somewhere, and it just can't be excess self-storage there on Central Avenue. There's going to be another place for them to store their stuff as well. So from a entry-exit standpoint, 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock at night, you're not going to have people coming in and out like you would in an apartment building. You're going to have people just coming there whenever they need to just get their stuff out of the storage unit. So I think overall, it's a great addition to the second ward. It's a great addition for that spot, and I think it's a win for the township and for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Anybody else? Not at this. We already had that. I'm sorry, ma'am. But you can. Oh, all right, yeah, come on up.
I'd say at the end of the meeting, she could if she wanted.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Linda Sermonaro. I live at 82 Parkway Drive, and this is the first meeting I've ever been to. I've been here for about 22 years. So I'd just like to say that when I first moved to Clark and I changed jobs, I used the storage center that's right off of Central Avenue to the right. So we do have that, and I understand the need. But I'd like to speak to, we lost Barnes & Nobles, and that was a really great asset to the community. And I keep hearing online that there's more medical offices. I'm in the medical profession myself, but I don't think we need more medical. And I know the place that you're referring to, which is right across from the stock. And I often thought we should have a nice mom and pop shop or something that's usable for the community. I just feel personally, aesthetically, to have one of those big box places, even though it's going to bring revenue, and I understand revenue is important, I just think it's not going to be sightly unless it's, I'm sorry, unless it's, I didn't plan to talk on this, but it's been in the back of my mind about other areas. Unless it's going to be manicured and made to look, presentable.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'll let the mayor jump in. I know you spent a lot of time on it.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Wealthaker. You could stay there. When I first heard self-storage, I too wasn't too excited about it until I looked at the whole area and had a vision on it that, number one, it's a very low traffic impact, and we all know we're suffering from traffic in our town and throughout Union County, and a lot of New Jersey for that matter. When the team from CubeSmart came in to meet with us, the first thing we did impress upon them is that we just don't want a factory-like building there. It is in a main road in the heart of our town, and we really want it to be something presentable. The renderings proved that out to be. They agreed with us. They're going to do landscaping, there's going to be grass. It's going to be, I think, as nice as any storage facility can be. I like to see mom and pop shops. The problem is to buy that land and to build those shops. It's millions of dollars in today's market, and you just don't find little store owners wanting to do that, especially with all the online shopping. The brick and mortar stores are really hurting. We hope to develop some of that more down on this end of Westfield Avenue as that all develops. But I can assure you, the people from CubeSmart have been nothing but gentlemanlike, and really, they want to bring a good business to our town, and they want to enhance it, not hurt it. That I can give you my insurance to. Thank you, ma'am.
Just to dovetail on that, the first ordinance is on Westfield Avenue, and hopefully that's the beginning of the redevelopment on Westfield Ave. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Minetti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
For all the regions that we spoke about tonight, yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted. Next is ordinance 23-14, an ordinance by the Township Council amending the Township of Clark Code of Ordinances to repeal Chapter 166, Flood Damage Control, in its entirety, and to adopt a new ordinance entitled Chapter 166, Floodplain Management Regulations, to adopt flood hazard maps, to designate a floodplain administrator, and providing for severability and an effective date.
Before I open this up to the public, I'd like to turn it over to Rich O'Connor, if I could. Go ahead, Mayor Bonacorso.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, as I spoke to you earlier, and I know Councilman Hunt has and Councilwoman Albanese, Mr. O'Connor, Rich O'Connor's here tonight as our township engineer to try to help you make sense of that flood map in doing so. Being here for a long time, this kind of issue, it's a big scope. It's not easy to answer all your questions in a condensed period of time. So what I'm going to do is after the meeting, when the last speaker's done tonight, I'm going to put this pad up at the podium. Please print your name clearly, your address, and your email if you have one. And as I said to Councilman Hund and to Councilwoman Albanese and yourselves back there, I think within the next 10 days or so, we'll try to get a meeting, maybe at the municipal cafeteria or room 30, to try to really break this down. As I said to you back there, and I'll say to you again, we are not happy about this map. This is a FEMA DEP project, and we understand it's very complex to understand, and we want to help you make sense of it, because right now it doesn't make a lot of sense to myself or members of the council. The ordinance is not about that, it's about something else, but we're going to turn it over to Mr. O'Connor, and then Mr. President, if you have him stand up and ask questions. But you will all have a chance when we get together in a more intimate setting to roll up our sleeves and talk more about it, okay? Thank you.
Go ahead, Rich.
Great. Thank you, Council President. Just by way of information, the township began participating in the flood management insurance program in 1971. and the township has had a flood damage control ordinance since shortly thereafter, which has been periodically updated at the request of FEMA and NJDEP since that time. Most recently, it was done late in the 2000s after the latest flood map had been introduced. FEMA has come to us in November with correspondence that told us that the flood damage control section of our ordinance needed to be revised and updated again, and that we had to follow a model code that the state of New Jersey had put together, sort of to standardize everyone's flood damage control section. That ordinance essentially let us fill in the township's name in the blanks and create a list of available resources that the state has developed to use for flood elevation control. That ordinance also defines a lot of terms that FEMA uses, such as substantial damage and base flood elevation, and a host of other things that happens in the event that there's a flood and FEMA has to come in to provide assistance, or that someone needs to know to claim flood insurance or to purchase flood insurance. So that's the ordinance that is before you tonight. FEMA's last map in Union County was set in preliminary form in 2016. The last adopted map was 2006. We anticipate that FEMA is actually going to come out with revised mapping again at some point in a 5 to 10 year cycle. At this point, they have not said that they're going to update the map anytime soon, and we don't know exactly when that's going to happen. On a parallel track with that, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, stormwater management people, promulgated rules in the New Jersey Register in December of last year. Those rules are this thick and are going to have to be incorporated into our ordinance, which is a Chapter 35. Those rules are requiring that for the flood hazard area in New Jersey, that they're going to use FEMA's mapping and make assumptions that that mapping will increase somewhere between 2 and 3 feet. We don't know how the final rule is actually going to come out. What they're doing is they're arbitrarily taking the flood elevation that are shown on the last approved maps, and they're saying that the flood elevation is 3 feet higher. When you increase the flood elevation, the surface area of the flood extends depending on the topography of the land, the slope of the land, what's on it, etc. So the floodplain area gets greatly enlarged. This concerned the mayor and the administration, and they asked us to look at a map and to create a map to estimate who in Clark might be impacted by this, so that the town could essentially warn them that this was coming. So the map that you've seen was a tool to develop an address list so that the mayor's office could send out letters telling you that these regulations were in process, and that if you had any comments, you should work through the regulatory comment period that the state has, which is, I believe, shortly up at the end of the month. It's anticipated that the state is going to review what comments it receives and formalize and adopt those regulations sometime in, they're saying, late April, early May time period. And they'll give the town essentially another 6 months to a year to update our ordinance to comply with what the state is changing their stormwater management regulations to. And that will have large impacts on the flood hazard area. Now, what's the state doing? The state is saying that they're going to calculate the existing condition based on a fully developed area. What does that mean? Well, when the state first did these regulations, they assumed that there was going to be a certain amount of development, and they created estimates for what existing rainfall, or existing runoff was, and what proposed runoff would be, based on what they thought would be developed areas at some point in the future. The parameters of that have greatly changed over the years. The state has claimed to recognize that the areas have been overly paved, overly built, and as a result, runoff has increased substantially. At the same time, storms that used to be known as having a probability of occurring once every 100 years suddenly were occurring 3 times within 10 years, or 4 times within 10 years. The most recent of which was Ida, which under the existing codes was somewhere on the order of a 1,500-year storm in the areas where it was most intense. In Clark, we had rainfall of about 9 inches that fell in a little over an hour. They're then taking the proposed condition that they're going to use to develop flood hazard information, and they're saying that that is going to require the use of much higher runoff rates, much higher intensity curves, much higher rainfall levels, so that they can calculate and estimate what the runoff is going to be, and ultimately what they consider a flood hazard elevation to be. At the moment, they're just saying that they estimate that that's going to increase about 2 to 3 feet over what FEMA has already come up with. So the state is also saying that they're going to estimate until such time as their mapping is updated. And again, they have no formal plans to update that map. Well, who did they put in control of this? Well, the state's got a permit process that's run by the by DEP, the Office of Land Use. There's permits that are in place that you may or may not have to get from the state to do things if you're in a known floodplain. What does the FEMA ordinance do? The FEMA ordinance says that if you're in a floodplain, that you have to follow certain rules and regulations, and you may have to document that you're in or out of that floodplain. The gold standard of that is something that's known as a flood elevation certificate, which would have to be privately obtained to show that your property is, that the structures on your property are in or out of the floodplain. How does that affect your flood insurance? The flood elevation certificate can be used to either support a case for what your flood insurance rate should be or not. The only mandate for purchasing flood insurance comes from mortgage companies that are federally insured, and they can mandate that properties that are within a floodplain obtain flood insurance. No one else has to obtain flood insurance, although it would be a good idea to at least get what they call preferred rate insurance in the event that a flood occurs and damage occurs, because a lot of flood situations are not covered under typical homeowners insurance policies. And the state says that in the last few storms, over 90% of the claims for damage were from properties that were not in known and mapped floodplains. In other words, they're at flood fringes or in the perimeter of that. Now, when we looked at the mapping to develop the estimate for the mayor, and the mayor issued his letter in February saying, the state is doing this, here's the website for the state's information to look and see what they're proposing and how to comment on it. And the mayor also gave you a link to FEMA's model ordinance, which is what's being adopted here today. The mapping was developed simply using FEMA's cross-sections and connecting the dots for the new elevation. Now, the township had a 1970s topo map that we used in conjunction with FEMA's cross-sections to connect those dots. It's not a very scientific, it was quick and dirty, and it was simply to err on the side of conservatism so that someone would receive a warning versus not receiving a warning if there was a possibility that they might be impacted. So the map that was issued has no regulatory authority. It's not in our ordinance. It's not associated with our ordinance. It was a tool to use to show the mayor what the possibilities could be and how many people might be impacted who haven't already been impacted by being in a floodplain. And that number was about 150 properties. Now, some of you may not be impacted even though you got the letter, but you received the letter as a warning that this was going on. The new floodplain elevations, when and if they're ever developed formally, are going to be significantly higher than they are today. And people who are not in a floodplain today are now going to find themselves in one. And you deserve the right to comment on that happening. This may not be the forum for that to happen because it's a state regulation under the New Jersey Administrative Code. It's not a township one, even though we're going to be asked to incorporate that into our ordinances to be consistent with state law. Council President, I think that's
Thank you
all I
for the
can answer at this
detailed,
point.
detailed explanation of what we're approving tonight and what the future may hold. Jim, you have anything?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I'm going to have to set a date with you folks quickly to, again, sit down and kind of roll up your sleeves. I think Mr. O'Connor pointed out here tonight what this is. I hope it answered some of your questions. It probably hasn't answered all of your questions. And we like to give you that opportunity because we want you to comment on the website to the proper people so they understand what's going on in your mind and what you're protesting to. We just can't do that as a town. We need you to do that with it. Councilman Hunn will lead the way up in the 3rd Ward, up on Parkway Drive in that immediate area to help you. So after the meeting, we're going to put everybody's name. I know it's not everybody there, but we'll get everybody's name, but who's here tonight. And Steve will set a meeting with you, Rich, and whoever else can come. You know, what do you say, a week from tomorrow night, Tuesday?
Oh, hold on.
Okay. All right.
Hold on one second.
We'll do that.
Yeah,
Go
we'll
ahead,
look at
man.
that date. Also, I'll be sending a letter stating that our objections to this, to the proper people, with the comments from the residents and why we feel that this is not a proper situation for us.
So at this time, I'll open it up to the public. Just state your name, address, and you'll have 5 minutes of duration.
Sermonaro, 82 Parkway Drive, and thank you for bringing this up and explaining it. Hello?
Yep, there we go.
Hi. So, Mr. O'Connor, you mentioned that this was a tool, and I just don't understand that the neighbor across the street from me did not get a letter. So I'm not clear how this tool was developed. And the other question is, since I've been living here, I've never had a drop of water in my basement. And also, from what I understand, a neighbor 2 blocks away that doesn't have any flood issues asked preemptively his insurance company, can you tell me if I, just would be interested in getting flood insurance? And they told him, well, it would be $1,500 for the year, but it doesn't cover your basement. So he's like, why would I even think about getting flood insurance? Because usually that's where the water would start. And across, now when you look at the map, Union County Parkway, it's all listed as one street. And we know on the opposite side, which is not Parkway Drive, traditionally they're always flooding. You could see the water coming up. So I just don't understand with the elevation. My house was built in 1945. It was one of the original owners on Parkway Drive. And we've never had a drop of water, so I just don't understand how I would get a letter and the neighbor directly across the street from me did not get a letter.
That could have been clerical, I'm being honest
That's
with
what
you.
I thought.
Yeah.
But, you know, initially, I know how things operate. I've been in corporate America for 40 years, and I know that nothing is perfect, and things do happen, and even when you call your insurance company, I'm taking up my minutes by talking about stuff like this, but I just think that we're all concerned because we got this letter, and we don't really understand what it means, and I think we're all concerned about property values. We know that there's a lot of changes coming around in our neighborhoods that are concerning, and we just feel that this is another knock to drop our property values. We all know what's going on with the economy now. You know, the rates had been high for property values. They're coming down. There's a lot of concerns what's going on with banks and inflation. And, you know, so what do? Do we move to another place, you know, that has a better chance of not being in a flood zone?
For all of those reasons is why the mayor sent out this alert. I can tell you that the post office returned something on the order of 6 to 8 letters because it was addressed to resident at an address. And the post office said that that was undeliverable because resident did not live there. So they were looking to change some of those and get the letters back out. There's any number of reasons why the tax rolls may have shown an old owner's name and the letter may have been forwarded to a prior owner if there's been a property transfer. So there's any number of reasons why those could have been misdirected. And as I said, the methodology that we used was not based on a computer model to model the stream. That just would have been far too time-consuming and expensive for the township to undertake. We just tried to use FEMA's elevations and estimated as best we can, connecting the dots on a straight line between cross-sections that were known. So
Excuse me, sir.
No.
Excuse me, sir.
You have to wait your turn. You can come up and talk.
But
That's all right. She didn't give you the speaking role tonight. She took it.
I took it. Can I just say one thing? What is the elevation that you need to be at so that you're not in a flood zone? Do we know what that measure is?
all I can tell you is it varies, and even being several hundred feet down a street, it may be different by a foot or more. It's all dependent on the mapping that FEMA came up with and elevations that FEMA came up with.
My other question, because I have 5 minutes, he can have another 5, is that we have till the end of the month to make our remarks, if that's what I understood correct. So if we're going to have a meeting, we really need to have it so that we can...
Well, here's what I just mapped out. I looked at my calendar. We'll go for next Tuesday night, a week from tomorrow, 3/28, March 28th, 7 p.m., room 30 at the municipal building. All right? And we'll get, you folks here know that. We'll get letters out to those people in your area that are affected, because it seems like that's the mainstay of the area, is right in your neighborhood. And we'll have myself and Councilman Albanese and Councilman Hund and Rich there, and we'll see what we can do. But in the meantime, you have to get on that website and send an email, Rich, would be called, I guess, an email?
They require written comments in... It's not like you can call someone at the state and comment and talk to about that.
And they don't pick up
Many
the
of you
phone
have
anyway.
found out. They're just redirecting you back to us, or they're redirecting you to the county, or what the state's process is, when they put a rule together, they publish it in a document that's called the New Jersey Register. I'm sure that all of you subscribe to the New Jersey Register and know exactly what that is. So if you had not gotten a letter from the mayor, you would not have known that the state was proposing these changes and that there was a timeline to comment on. Now,
Rich, what would we just, very quickly, so we don't take up all night on this, we have a lot of business on the calendar. In the meantime, to the meeting, should they go on there, put their name, their address, and say, "We object to being put into the flood area because we never flood"? I mean, I'm just trying to give simple language here tonight that they could start the process with as we come from the flank and try to help them.
I think that if they want to object, they should voice their concerns to the state's methodology and say, you object to the way the state is estimating that this
Okay.
is going to occur.
So tomorrow, get that letter, go onto that site. We are objecting to the state's methodology and to the way these flood areas are being estimated.
I looked at the link, and to be honest, when I got those, I went right there and looked at everything, and it wasn't very clear where you go in to make your objection, so I'm not sure if somebody can email us and let us know. I mean,
Buried
Welcome
in
to the
that
wonderful state
buried
of
in
New
that
Jersey.
document is a place where you have to send your written comments. I don't know if they're accepting them by email or if they're just accepting them by mail, but there's going to be a section in that proposal that says, send your comments here.
And that's what you got to do. If it's written, you got to handwrite it, type it out and send it down to them, so at least we have a record, and then we'll come back and,
so send a certified letter, I would think, if you have to do it the old-fashioned way by mailing, that's what they would like us to do.
If there's an address, but I think they want you to do the comments online, correct, Rich?
What's that?
There are two
I think-
websites on the letter.
The state typically only accepts written comments, and then they take all of the comments within 30 days, and they publish their answer to it at the time that they adopt the final version of the ordinance, and they put the final version in the New Jersey Register.
So Linda, it looks like the old-fashioned way, certified, unfortunately.
For us to find out the method for sending it and then email these people how they should send the communication, whether it's email or letter or certified letter.
I can have that information within a day or so, and
Okay, if you leave your email tonight, we can email you that.
I just want to make a statement.
Can you just state your name and address?
Talking about
Excuse me, sir?
elevations.
Excuse me, can you just state your name and address
Oh,
for the
okay.
records, please? Thank you.
Bodon Masillo, 82 Parkway Drive, Clark, New Jersey.
Thank you.
And we just want to make a statement that we're talking about elevations and the height, and they're going to raise the height and all. Well, my observation with this is that the water with the last storm, which you said was what, 1,500-year precedence with the last storm with the amount of rain. When I went out there and I looked, that storm would have had to been at least over double that just to reach our house, okay? There would be no bridges. There would be no bridge down on Valley left, and those homes down there would be washed away, for it to reach my house, because everything is going uphill. It's all uphill, so no matter how much water falls, it all goes shooting down to Valley there. I was down there last storm. The water was coming over the railing. I'm not talking about the walkway. I'm talking about over the concrete pile and the railing. And we actually, we took pictures of that, how high it was. When I went outside my house and looked, there was no water even coming close to Parkway Drive. Okay? It was like over probably, I'd say, at least 15 feet below that, maybe more. So I don't know where this criteria is falling.
well, I think
It makes no sense to me at all. It
Storm-
sounds like we're getting a lot of red tape and a lot of runaround with this.
storms tend to be very localized.
Yeah.
The area around Willow Way, the storm appeared to be much more significant even in Clark than in other places in Clark. I think we've all experienced that sensation of driving down the parkway and swearing that it's raining on us while the northbound people are in bright sunshine.
But
And that can happen in a storm
That's
like
irrelevant to what I'm just saying. Okay? I'm telling you, like I said before, Angela stated that, you could have 8 inches of rain in one spot, nothing in another. Doesn't matter. If 8 inches falls by my house, it's going to go downhill. It's going to go downhill. It's not going to pool there and stay there. Where our property is, it's not designed to pool water. Everything goes downhill. That's the way center of gravity is.
the way
Okay?
that
Everything goes downhill. It's not going to stay there. For us to be flooded, homes down, their roofs will be underwater down the street.
We totally agree and
agree.
understand what you're saying. We're just,
You worked on
yeah, no,
my neighbor's house,
Yeah.
and you've been up there. You see how
we were there today.
deep the embankment is.
My business administrator and I took a ride after lunch, and, you would have to drain the ocean to flood that neighborhood. So we totally agree with you. We're just going to have to sit down and try to figure this out, get your comments in, because they really don't care what we think. We got to hear from you. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure all these insurance companies would love to sell us insurance because they would never have to pay us a claim.
Well, we hear you.
All
and
right, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Go ahead, Counselor.
I just quickly Googled it, and according to Google, to submit a comment on a DEP rulemaking, you must complete a form. There's a form that shows up on the website. Select the rulemaking you are commenting on, enter your comments in the space provided, and click the submit button to send them. I just forwarded that to you, Rich. There is a limitation, no more than 20,000 characters, which runs about 10 pages, and there are instructions. So it should be able to be submitted according to this by way of a website submission rather than mailing it. It might not be a bad idea if they also have a snail mail alternative to send it in both manners to ensure that it's received and considered. That's what I would do if I were you, but it looks like you're going to be able to do that online.
Thank you, Mark. Go ahead, Delia.
Hi, I'm Delia Collins, 72 Georgia Street. So based on the discussion that you just had, anyone that did not receive a letter would not be affected by getting flood insurance? Well, we got flooded. No, I'm asking a question. Please don't laugh. I had flood. All right?
Yep.
I know, but what I'm trying to say, if you give me a moment and don't make a face, I wanted to know, we have Conrail back there now, working on an area where there is a stream. I've talked to you about it, we've discussed it. Now, is there any way to find out they're working on this area, that they're doing anything to the stream that connects to the culverts and the drainage system that comes under Georgia and Carolina Street?
Tell you every time you come up with a Conrail issue, we're not in charge of Conrail. They do not report to us, so I would ask you to probably
Conrail's
call.
affecting our neighborhood.
And I understand that. And the problem is they do not have to take permits out to do work along the road. We've been through this about 22 times in 22
Right.
years. So you should know the drill on Conrail. We can look and see what we can find, but I think if you have this question, you should call Conrail and ask them.
I did today, but I didn't get through.
Okay.
Okay, and
Conrail does not provide us with information of what they're doing to maintain their facilities.
that sucks. It affects our neighborhood. They can put whatever they want in the sewers, and they can put whatever they want in the streams and cause our neighborhood to flood.
But Conrail is not required to submit their plans and their intentions to the township for review. They're a quasi-governmental entity and subject to their own regulations.
Okay, we'll just have to move out of Clark.
Thank you, Delia. Anyone else on this ordinance? Okay, seeing no one, I can motion. Oh, I'm sorry. No problem. Just state your name and address, please, for the record.
Catherine Dexter, 302 Parkway Drive.
Thank you.
Now, you had stated that you received correspondence from FEMA back in November concerning this?
FEMA initially told us on November 2nd that the township had to adopt a model ordinance within 6 months.
Okay, did they give you any guidelines as to how to do this?
What they told us was that we had to go to a website to find the model ordinance, and the model ordinance gives us the opportunity to type in Township of Clark. They then tell us that we have to finalize the ordinance in a format of our ordinance, so we had to put the ordinance numbers together and the section numbers together, and we then had to forward that back to FEMA and DEP prior to February 2nd for approval prior to the council's introduction of that ordinance.
And did they give you any guidance on how to develop the map?
No, they did not, because the map had nothing to do with the ordinance. The map was a tool for the mayor's office to use to figure out who to warn, who to give advance warning of the state's change in regulation, not this FEMA one.
The map, what he's saying, is not an official map at this time, but through his work is to try to figure out who would be affected. And I guess, Rich, you were maybe a little bit more aggressive than conservative because you didn't want to be conservative and leave someone out, and then they find out later. Am I correct?
That's correct. Your direction to us.
Maybe some of you won't be included into that map, and if so, we're sorry you're here. But on the other hand, I think you'd rather be alerted to it than find out later that no one ever told us, and, well, we took a conservative approach, and it really turned out to be, larger than what our thought process was.
It was developed without any kind of elevation study or any kind of hydrologic or hydraulic analysis.
That's absolutely correct. We used cross-sections from FEMA's original flood studies that showed elevations, and there were hydrologic and calculations done in support of those studies. We took those elevations, we increased them by the amount that DEP said that they were going to increase it, and we connected the dots from the ends of the cross-sections on a 1970s topo map that the township had in process.
So it's really, in other words, it's really not accurate, though, in determining who's going to flood and who's not.
That's exactly what we've been saying. It
Yeah.
was our best guess at who was going to be impacted or not by the state's regulation change that's coming in May-ish.
Okay, because we don't flood. Our house is 35 feet up from the river, at least 100 feet back. Like the previous gentleman had said, if we flood, you're going to have a whole lot of other problems. You're going to have houses that have washed away on Valley Road. So I don't understand how
interrupt
we're
you.
included.
Man, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think, Rich, you mentioned earlier that the individual homeowner can go out and get a survey or elevation survey.
Yes.
Yeah, if you are designated in that flood zone to say, wait a minute, I'm 35 feet or whatever above.
Right.
So I think that.
Why is the burden of proof on the resident?
Got to bring that up with the state. It's not us, it's the state, DEP.
It says that I have to go out and I have to prove.
Unfortunately, yes.
Council President?
I will put that down.
Yes, go ahead,
The flood
Rich.
map that the mayor's office had, that the mayor's office sent out, is not an official flood map.
Correct.
The official flood map is still FEMA's flood map and always will be.
Yeah.
But what they said was that you had to now take an elevation that was 2 feet higher than was shown at that map and show that you're in or out of a floodplain. Now, what the town has done since that time is the town has commissioned a new aerial topographic survey map of the entire town so that we'll have current elevation information and current locations of every structure in town so that we'll have a guess to use as a tool when it comes time to attempt to evaluate this.
Right.
Because they're not giving us much guidance. They're saying, here's our map from 2016, use it.
So
And-
you're submitting this map to the state?
No.
Not.
No.
This map has nothing, it's not going to
Nothing
the
to do with
state,
the
it's
state.
just a tool
It's just a
for us.
tool we use, with the, Rich O'Connor, the engineer, came up with just to alert the citizens that this may be coming in the near future. That's all that map was for.
What's going to come in the near future? FEMA's going to come in and readjust their map, or are they?
FEMA is eventually going to come up with a flood.
Passing that legislation.
Right.
You don't comment and say that you disagree with the way they estimated everything.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
just to give you an opportunity to comment on that legislation, because there's only till the end of the month.
Okay.
If you want to make the comments. If you feel that you will not be affected, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I don't.
Is that confident?
Yeah.
So how is this going to affect, is this going to affect just permits in the town, or what is your map going to affect?
My map's going to have no effect on anyone.
No?
When someone comes in to apply for a permit in town, they already have to provide topographic information of their property
Right.
to show that they're not impacting adjoining properties or their neighbors.
Okay.
So that topo will be reviewed against these flood elevations. And if you're 30 feet higher than that flood elevation, that's the end of the story.
Okay.
If you're a foot and a half higher than that flood elevation, then it's likely that you're going to have to provide some documentation that your specific case is subject to flood regulation or not. And that would probably be an elevation certificate, which would be a land surveyor coming to your home and documenting the location, the elevation of your basement, any casement windows leading into the basement, your first floor elevation, and a number of other things that an insurance carrier would want to see in developing rate information for you to obtain flood insurance.
So when
Or
would I
not.
need an elevation certificate? Would that be to get myself off of FEMA's map or get myself off of your map as far as being in a floodplain?
Our map is not going to continue as something that we update. It's not getting on or off of our map.
Okay.
Our map is not official. It's not going to have any regulatory basis whatsoever. If you are included in a new FEMA map that may come out at some point in the next 5 years, it will have no basis in our map, and they will have done the hydrologic and hydraulic studies in order to develop their map based on current information.
Okay.
So at that point, if you want to document that you're in that map or out of that map, there's a process that they have that's a letter of map amendment or a letter of map revision that they would put you through, or your mortgage carrier may ask you for that elevation certificate to document that you're in or out.
Because currently, we're not considered in a flood zone on FEMA's map at this point.
Correct.
Yes.
150 or so people are not in a current flood map situation that were given this letter because we think that the expansion of the floodplain is going to impact another 150 properties plus or minus. There may be situations where it nicked the road in front of your property. There may be places where it nicked a corner of the property. We chose to notify people, even if it were not a significant encroachment or even if it were anywhere nearby, because we wanted to make sure that people were alerted to this situation and were given the opportunity to comment. The town's map is a tool that we're using internally just to provide this notification.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with either the state's regulation or FEMA's regulation.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come forward on this ordinance?
Rich Donofrio, 74 Parkway Drive, Clark. Question I have is, did you go and look at Parkway Drive area to see the elevations?
No, Rich, we did not. We used the existing 1970s topo. We used FEMA's cross-sections, and we did the best we could to connect the dots between those cross-sections. It's not a scientific study. It was a way to develop a warning system and a list so that the mayor's office could tell people there's a regulation change coming at the state level that's a runaway train that we have no control over, and to have people have the opportunity to comment on that, because a typical citizen in the Township of Clark is not aware of the New Jersey Register and is not aware of the ability of the legislature to create a situation that requires new regulation and their ability to comment on it before it becomes finalized.
Okay, because I thought the New Jersey Register was like a newspaper.
The New Jersey Register is a book that's published
I'm
every
only
2
kidding you.
weeks.
Because, I mean, really, if you look at that area on Parkway Drive, I mean, there's like a 30-foot drop, and if the water level comes up 3-4 feet, there's no way it's going to come up and over. And our homes are generally up from even the street.
Rich,
And it was just for,
let me jump in for 1 second. Just to explain it, when Rich O'Connor, the engineer, brought this to my attention, it was, okay, who do we have to inform and how do we inform them? And in the perfect scenario, you would have FEMA come out with the map, then come out with the regulation, so then we know who's responsible and who's going to be, affected by this, right? Unfortunately, FEMA wasn't responsible enough, DEP wasn't responsible enough to come out and say, okay, here's the map, and now adopt the ordinance. So we had to do it backwards. So the best way that we could do it, and this is what I sat down and spoke to Rich about, is how do we figure out who to notify? Because, back to, it's only a tool to say, okay, these are the houses that may be affected. This is no way, shape, or form the end-all, be-all in what's going to happen. But, this is our best guess based on what we have, the information that Rich has from both the DEP and FEMA, and how we get to people to know. Because, for argument's sake, if you were affected, and I don't know if you're going to be or not, but if you were affected and we didn't tell you, then you'd be coming back to us saying, hey, why this law change? You didn't tell us. And if I went back, and then you would have every right saying, well, I knew about it, but I didn't know if you were going to be affected or not, so we just said, you know what, they didn't tell us, and we're done.
There's a chance that some of you folks may not even be affected, and if so, we're sorry you're here, but we'd rather err on the side of caution and watch your back than you find out later when it's too late.
I have just two more questions. One is the map that you came up with. What are the chances of FEMA saying, okay, that's the one we're going to use?
Zero.
Okay. All right. The other question is, did all the council know about this mapping? Did all the council know about the mapping, the FEMA mapping of Parkway Drive?
Third Ward Councilman knew about it. I think the rest of you knew about it at an executive meeting.
Because one of my neighbors asked the councilman if he knew about it. He had no idea.
I don't know.
That's all. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else want to come up on this ordinance? Unfortunately, no, you can come up at the end, though, when public comments. At this time, I'd like to close this portion of the meeting. Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Get a second? Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'd like to direct a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Yes, I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Get a second, please? Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Any further discussion on this?
I just want to thank the administration and our engineer tonight for explaining the source of the ordinance and all the information about how to protest and why it was important to be notified. I think it's clear to me, looking at the people in the audience live at a very high elevation. People who are at low elevations didn't come tonight because they know. I'm one of them. I live near water. Different storms have affected me. The engineer told me not to buy that house. He said it's near water. But I wanted to live there. I live there, and we'll have to see what happens. I appreciate the opportunity to give the feedback to the state. I hope you do as well. And maybe those at home who do live in low areas that did get the letter will also send in letters to protest it. I think it was very revealing that the engineer said 90% of the claims made for flooding were not in flood zones. So the state is acting to be precautious. There's a lot of development in the state, and water will go where water will go. I don't want to go on further about some of the examples that we've seen this year in Yellowstone Park, et cetera, and even in surrounding areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Get a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Minetti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted.
Okay, we're going to move along to introduction of proposed ordinances.
Yes, we have one ordinance for introduction, ordinance 23-15, an ordinance to amend and supplement various sections of Chapter 347 entitled Vehicles and Traffic of the Code of the Township of Clark.
I get a motion, please?
I'll move that, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. I'd like to second that. Any discussion?
I will say a couple of words. Is that okay? One of the areas on Bartel, closer to the athletic field and the dance studio, became an issue with parking. Now, if you're a homeowner and you're paying taxes and you go out your front door and there's a bunch of cars from another area in front of your house, you're kind of upsetting. So what we're trying to do is help those who live in the area. They understand there is a park and there's a dance studio and things that have, a use, but there's also a negative impact. And we're trying to help those residents who've been there and help them out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Jim?
And I just want to also bring to your attention that we're taking advantage of, well, not taking advantage, but using this ordinance update to revise some of the streets that signage at the end of the street was inconsistent with our ordinances. So we wanted to clear that up. Police Department did a review of the town, and we identified a couple of areas that we needed to make some updates.
Thank you for summarizing that. Anyone else? Okay, get a roll call.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Minetti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Public hearing on this ordinance will be April 17th.
I'd like to move to payment of claims.
Yes, thank you. I have reviewed the bills for the month totaling $304,294.06. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. At this time, we're going to move to the citizens' hearing on the agenda. This time, I'm going to open the meeting to the public. Each person addressing the council shall give their name and address to the clerk. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and shall not last more than 5 minutes in duration. So if anyone would like to come forward, please do so. Yes, agenda items only at this point.
Hello, Christina Sabates, 322 Parkway Drive. I would like to address the last point that you made about the parking near the dance studio. It is very difficult to park at the dance studio. I like to watch my daughter walk in the door and come out, and it's very dark there on that side because they come out on Richard Street. I believe that's Richard Street?
Yes.
Okay. The people across the street, they sit there and stare at all the little girls walking in. Makes me very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Not just for my daughter, but for all the other little girls going in and out. I don't know exactly what the ordinance is. I know that there's a sign there now, and we can't park on that side of the street. There are branches on the side of the street that we are allowed to park on. There's pooled water on there. The other day I parked on that side of the street, the correct side of the street, a branch stuck under my car. I had to stop in the middle of the street, pull out the branch. Don't know if I damaged my car. So I don't know exactly what the ordinance is. That sign there, I'm sorry, it's not right. I'm a citizen of the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on agenda items? Okay, seeing no one, I'd like a motion to close this portion of the meeting. Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella, second by Councilman Toll. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're going to move along to resolutions.
Okay, the first resolution is the introduction of the 2023 municipal budget, and I will read the resolution into the record. Municipal budget of the Township of Clark, County of Union for calendar year 2023. Be it resolved that the following statements of revenues and appropriations shall constitute the municipal budget for the year 2023. Explanatory statement, summary of current fund section for approved budget year 2023. General appropriations, appropriations within caps, municipal purposes, $20,877,849. Appropriations excluded from caps, municipal purposes, $6,392,318.59. Local school district, school purposes, 0. Total general appropriations excluded from cap, $6,392,318.59. Reserve for uncollected taxes, $1,100,000. Total general appropriations, building aid allowance for schools, state aid, $28,370,167.59. Less anticipated revenues other than current property taxes, $7,278,584.59. Difference, the amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget. Local tax for municipal purposes, including reserve for uncollected taxes, $19,973,955, and minimum library tax, $1,117,628. Be it further resolved that notice is hereby given that the budget and tax resolution was introduced by the Municipal Council of the Township of Clark, County of Union, State of New Jersey on March 20th, 2023, and be it further resolved that said budget is published in summary in the Union County Hawk in the issue of March 23rd, 2023. Be it further resolved that a regular meeting for the hearing on the budget and tax resolution will be held at the Public Safety Building, 315 Westfield Avenue, on April 17th, 2023, at 7:30 p.m., at which time and place objections to said budget and tax resolution for the year 2023 may be presented by the taxpayers or other interested persons.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move that, please.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Albanese. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to make a few comments.
Sure, go ahead.
Sure. With regard to the budget, first, I'd like to discuss how successful we were in 2022 managing expenses to meet the budget prepared in November 2021 and approved February 2022. The effects of inflation were significant across the board. However, we were especially hard hit from the increase in fuel, utilities, and services. These services include DPW expenditures associated with tub grinding, grass and leaf pickup and disposal, also the cost to repair equipment across all departments, DPW, fire, police, and the unexpected closing of Puma, increasing our recycling expenses. Going into 2023, we are dealing with inflation and the New Jersey government services increases, resulting in $1.6 million in additional expenses, which is a 6% increase over 2022. The most visible increase was the much-discussed state health benefit plan increase of 17%, or $563,000, a third of the increase. While the average cost increase for the plans was 24%, through negotiations with the unions, we were able to offer a shared cost savings for members that changed their plans to a specified plan, and also reduced costs as members moved to less expensive plans that were not subject to the cost sharing to avoid the increase. As everyone has observed, interest rates increased over last year, and we are no different. Our rate increased from about 1% to about 3.5%, significantly increasing our cost by 260%, amounting to an increase of $294,000 in interest costs. Recycling costs this year amount to $175,000 as a full-year effect of the vendor change from PMUA to Waste Management. State-mandated pension increases of $148,000, 7.5%, and mandatory library funding of $126,000. The tax department is increasing $95,000, primarily due to contracting to have a periodic assessments update. After the township reassessment, at what some consider the height of the market, we will be performing an annual reassessment of 20% of the residents to keep the assessments at market rate and reduce our risk of appeals and the associated legal, settlement, and court costs. As litigation and open request costs increase, the main driver is a notice of claim filed by former employee Antonio Manata against the town as discussed at council meetings. But this time it's different since he has also named the township attorney and required us to retain an independent attorney due to potential conflicts in the case. While the lawsuit has not been filed, if it is, we will have to pay for representation as opposed to using the township attorney. This budget line increased to $85,000. The 2021-2022 insurance market was the worst since the 1980s as a result of storms, cyber breaches, and workman's comp. Property insurance market saw increases of 25%. In New Jersey, liability insurance has seen a 50% increase in claims with a 75% increase in the cost of claims, not to be outdone by the 130% increase in cyber insurance. The insurance market was also hit with long COVID claims and a Department of Labor decision directing public entities to pay permanency costs related to accidental disability formerly paid by pensions increased workman's comp 11%. We are seeing an overall increase and bonding expense increase of $85,000. Increased gas prices will require us to increase the budget for gasoline by $50,000. As a final result of inflation, the costs continue to increase for repairs and maintenance for the fire department, and the budget will increase by $24,000. Increases in minimum wage has resulted in an increase of $38,000 for our recreation department. We have absorbed the increases since 2019. This year will be the first increase in over 6 years. It's $65 for one child and $60 for more than one for 4 days a week, a 6-week program, which is still one of, if not the best, value in the state. Based on all the above, this year, the average household assessed at $525,000 will see an increase for municipal taxes of $312, or you can calculate it $60 per $100,000 assessed approximately. Those are my comments.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Anybody else?
I just want to thank Councilman O'Connor for that thorough report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Manitti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes, the public hearing on this will be April 17th.
Okay, number 6 is authorizing the Township of Clark to assume the responsibility of conducting the annual budget examination pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-78B.
Get a motion, please? Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella. Any discussion?
Yes. So just to explain what's going on here, townships that are in sound fiscal condition are permitted to review and perform their annual budget examination or self-examination, which we are, and this is all what this resolution is calling for.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Manitti. Yes. Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Number 7 is authorizing the mayor or business administrator to execute a redevelopment agreement between the Township of Clark and Raritan Road Holdings Urban Renewal LLC for the property located at 1088 Raritan Road.
Get a motion, please? Thank you, Councilman Netti. Get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to let you know what this is about. And as we discussed in our workshop meeting, I mean, this just establishes the terms of the redevelopment. It's, rights, responsibilities, authority, identifying who owns the properties, collateral, deposits, terms, utilities, any off-track improvements, timelines to do the development. And, it just covers the town from those perspectives and make sure that the developer and the town are on the same page.
Thank you for the explanation. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Manitti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Number 8 is the council as the ABC Board authorizing the transfer of liquor license number 2002-33-009 from 1085 Central Avenue Restaurant Corp. to TKG LLC, Clark LLC.
You get a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Get a second?
Second?
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Any discussion?
Yeah, this is the old Molly McGuire Central Kitchen liquor license. It's, as the ABC Board, you need to approve it. The next question is, I have no idea what they're doing there, so, nothing's been brought to our attention.
But the liquor license has to stay in town, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else up here? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Manitti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Number 9 is rejecting all proposals received for the CCTV storm and sanitary sewers and authorizing the issuance of a new request for qualifications and proposals.
Get a motion, please?
Yes, I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella, second.
Second that?
Thank you, Councilman Hund. Any discussion?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, this
Jim.
is just a cost play. It was much more expensive than we expected, and we are looking at different ways to facilitate getting the work done, combination of using DPW and a company to do it, so we're looking at different options, but the bids that came in were, or the one bid that came in was excessively high.
Yes, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Maniti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Number 10 is authorizing final payment to S. Brothers Incorporated for work completed on the 2022 NJDOT road project, Mildred Terrace and Brentwood Road, in the amount of $42,588.10.
Get a motion, please?
I'll move that, Mr. President.
Councilman Toll, get a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Maniti. Any discussion?
I just want to comment publicly that the job came out really well. Mildred Terrace looks fabulous, and I hope it continues maintaining the grade of the blacktop, that it doesn't disintegrate in a quick aging process. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
And the only thing I'd like to add is that the maintenance guarantee has been filed, $49,886.58.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Maniti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Number 11 is authorizing the tax collector to apply sewer account balance adjustments as credit in the amount of $29,335.
You got a motion?
I'd like to move that.
Thank you, Councilman Albanese. Got a second? Thank you, Councilman Hund. Any discussion at standard operating procedure? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Maniti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the purchase of a Liberty DCR laptop recording system for use by the municipal court through the ESCNJ cooperative pricing system in the amount of $7,922.35.
I get a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilman Mazzarella, and second, Councilwoman Albanese. Any discussion?
It's time for a replacement.
Exactly. Thank you. Anyone else up here? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Maniti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes.
13 is supporting Revolution NJ, commemorating the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States.
I believe we're going to do an entire council on this.
Yes.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, of course. If anybody remembers the bicentennial in 1976, how an important historical year it was, and now 50 years has gone by again. So it'll be a very important and celebratory to recognize those who come before us and what accomplishments were achievements in our lifetime. But it's very important that we do this, and we bring this community together as one and work to make remembering those who came before us and what we're doing now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Anyone else? Seeing no one, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Albanese.
Yes.
Councilman Hund.
Yes.
Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes.
Councilman Maniti.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Toll.
Yes.
Council President Smith.
Yes. Is there any new business on the calendar?
There is no new business.
Okay, thank you. This time, we're going to move to public comments. Each person coming forward to address the council, please give their name and address to the clerk. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and shall not exceed 5 minutes or in duration. There you go. Now's your time. So just please, I just need both of you to state your name and address for the clerk.
Bill Venezia, 1 Hickory Street.
Thank you.
And Bill Melvin, 5 Hickory Street.
Thank you, Bill. Bill and Bill.
2 bills.
Yeah.
2
With the
bills.
same-
3 here. Good.
On the 5th of March, we had a sewer backup that affected the block and the neighborhood. We both sustained a lot of damage. It goes over and above what the insurance companies are are going to pay. I called DPW on the Monday after, so I guess that was the 7th, and I was told that, you can't throw wipes down, which I heard you guys allude to before, but never threw wipes down there. And the truth of the matter was, DPW was there to unclog the sewer on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I talked to some of the workers. And Bill and I both saw, not wipes, but toilet paper. Just want to know, what kind of recourse do we have, to recoup some of the losses that we're going to sustain, because we're not going to basically be able to be made whole. And what are the issues concerning not only the sewer, but the storm drains there, because obviously they can't handle big rains or whatever. And I know that I'm responsible from my house to the street, but if they're poorly maintained, again, I'm asking if there any recourse that we have.
The only recourse you would have would be against your insurance companies. There is no recourse against the town. You're more than welcome to consult your own counsel and take that advice, but the town's not responsible for that occurrence. As I understand it, those sewer mains are periodically and regularly cleared and cleaned. That's my understanding.
Not that day.
No.
Not going to be done every day, sir. They're done on a scheduled basis. That's what I understand. That's what I've read about the situation. So all I can tell you is there's no recourse against the town, certainly none that the town's going to offer you. And if you want to consult with your own attorney and have an assessment by that attorney as to whether or not he thinks there's a claim, go at it.
We pay a $280 a year water and sewer bill. Usually it's collected in two parts. Does that money go for the upkeep of the sewers or the storm drain?
I don't know where the money goes. I know that I'm not in charge of expending money, sir. It's not part of my role. I'm the legal advisor. I give legal advice. I defend the town. I take care of the town.
Mark, I'll take that. And we proactively do go out and clean the sewers in that area. Were actually cleaned on February 14th, approximately, 3 weeks or so before the damage. And, it's a case of, they did say that there were wipes. They have the pictures of, everything, so we document it. I don't remember, I've responded back and forth to, 5, 6 people, so I don't know if it was exactly you. But we did send the pictures of what is there, so we document when we do the cleaning, who did the cleaning, and what was the end result. So it's all documented.
Public record, we can go look that up.
You can, send us an Oprah and we can send you the documentation.
And when's the next time that those sewers are going to be looked at?
Like I said, it's usually every 5 or 6 weeks we go throughout the town.
Is there an ordinance against like a backflow valve?
Against a backflow valve?
No, you should.
No, you should have one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you'll have to talk to your attorney. I don't want to get into the legal aspects of your responsibilities versus our responsibilities. But I can tell you some people told me that they were snaking it out. We don't know if the damage was actually done by snaking and broke their backflow valve. I have no idea how the actual situation happened.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Good.
One more thing. I heard you mention earlier about the wipes here, but has there ever been a memo or some kind of a notification sent out to the residents about wipes? I never use them,
Yes.
but other people are evidently.
We do have it in our on our website, so we put it out there. And also, it's not only an issue with us, it's an issue with New Jersey. So Senator Cryan now is in the process of passing an ordinance to make the non-flushable wipes illegal in the state of New Jersey. Yeah, so I've actually responded that to a couple of people too. And like I said, I apologize, I don't have all the emails in front of me, but there is something going through the Senate and the Assembly to make them actually illegal, because it's not only the Township of Clark that's being affected by these flushable wipes, or non-flushable wipes.
But to sustain the damage that I did and the loss of property that I did, it's a little frustrating where the town holds no responsibility for it. When I am paying a sewer bill, and part of that is to maintain. and you say you're maintaining, but yet I lost my whole basement, a finished basement. Everything is completely gone, and that's, to me, a little unreasonable, but thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else like to come forward?
Brandon Bennett, 304 Parkway Drive. In regards to the sewers, when was the sewer system installed in the 3rd Ward in Clark?
When your house was built,
1950? Okay, so all the homes that we're seeing now are enormous. Every home has 4 or 5 bathrooms. Not every home, but the homes that they're building now are larger, a lot more family, people are moving in. I don't know, maybe it's time we upgrade the sewer system. I don't know.
if we did that, Brandon, you wouldn't be able to afford to live in Clark. The taxes
I understand that,
the
but-
taxes would be so outrageous. When you're talking doing sewer replacements down roads, you're talking millions of dollars.
I'm not saying the whole town of Clark, I'm the areas that are affected.
Well, I mean, a lot
it
of-
seems
a
like
lot-
Third Ward is constantly getting slammed with this
No,
vacuum
it
truck.
does happen all over. We try to keep a program going to be proactive and.
No, I do, and they do a phenomenal job.
Yeah, so
They're
we're,
out there working.
everybody's doing our best to
yes.
do that. But the bottom line is, Brendan, is that, you know, you hear the wipes and the pipes. The gentleman asked, do we put that out? Yeah, we do. It's in our brochure. It's in a lot of areas. But like me telling people, don't put branches out in the street in the first and second week, they don't listen to that either. So sometimes we, as people, are our own worst enemies.
Okay, so the two gentlemen that were just up here, I had my basement was destroyed years ago, and I was told that they recommend putting a backwater valve in, and
Backflow preventer.
the backwater valve is...
Same thing.
Yeah, so my thing is, when you purchase a home in Clark, shouldn't that be something that should be put in a home so people who move into a town, they're protected? I mean, it's, you buy a home and you have no idea. and
Funny you bring that up, and, you know, so we just had an ordinance change. Anybody who was doing a major reconstruction of the houses, we were requiring them to change their lateral. Problem is, it's against state law.
Really?
Yes, so we actually just rescinded that ordinance because it was against state law. So we wanted everybody to go in, fix your lateral, put the backflow preventer on, and do it right. We could not do that.
Well, it's the best thing I ever did was to install that. Because
Yes.
it cost a little bit, but, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, Brandon.
Hey, Billy.
Seeing no one else coming up, I'd like a motion to close this portion. Thank you, Councilman Evans. Get a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman Minetti. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we're going to move to Mayor Council professional comments. Mayor Bonacorso?
Yes, our Third Ward Parkway Drive residents, we'll have that meeting on the 28th at 7 o'clock in room 30. I think, though, you've pretty much heard the whole thing here tonight, but you're welcome to come or send your neighbors out. I don't think you're going to hear anything more riveting or earth-shattering than this, but please, if you have questions. If you do come, I would ask you for one cordial bit of help. Please have your comments already into the DEP, because there's no sense coming to tell us that you're not going to flood, and when we agree with you and not holding up your end of it. We're trying to accommodate you. If you're here and you heard enough, you know what to do. You want to send your neighbors, I'll send a postcard out to your neighborhood telling them to come out again, and we'll see if we can answer some of the questions. Some of the areas, ma'am, our public portion is over for the evening. No, we're done. It's over. He called last call. Okay. That's all right. And the thing is that You could ask your questions again on the 28th, so let's try to work together. Again, maybe you will not be impacted by this, but I think it was our obligation to err on the side of caution to let you know that you can be. If it turns out, whenever they decide to adopt this, and you're not, well, you spent the night at the town council meeting. I don't think that's so bad. The other thing, if you heard our engineer, to show you some hypocrisy, they're talking about stormwater runoff, and New Jersey's being overbuilt, and there's no place for the water to run. And what are they advocating out of Trenton? More high-density, affordable housing in the state. So it really doesn't make sense. I'm going to give you a heads up off the top that a couple of years ago, they put a bill together in Trenton that wants the towns to measure how much rainwater falls off your property into our street and tax you for that. Right now, it's optional. I guarantee within the next 2 years, it's going to be mandatory. So we're going to have to say, because of your impervious coverage, how much water falls off and rolls into the sewer. It's sick. It's sick thinking, if you ask me. It's tax, more. We want more affordable housing. We want higher density development. We want, not us, them in Trenton. And then they come back and say, now we got to change flood frames because water's running off and we have all kinds of problems. It's just a lot of hypocrisy. So anyway, thank you for your input tonight and seeing all you out. We'll see you on the 28th if you feel it's necessary. If not, tell a neighbor. We'll send it out, and we'll be ready to give you an hour and talk to you if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bonacorso. We're not finished yet, ma'am. No, just... All right. Councilwoman Albanese.
Thank you. For the gentleman who had the flooding, I can relate because during Hurricane Floyd, my finished basement was totally destroyed with sewerage and just never was the same in that house again. And I think the breaker alarm didn't go off at the sewer house, but I wish I did have one of those backflow preventers. Learned the hard way. Thank you for all of you who came out and asked questions this evening. Hopefully we can meet next week and resolve any other unanswered questions. And as the mayor said, please try to get your comments into the state. We just passed a resolution celebrating 250 years of this country. This happens to be Women's History Month, and as a woman, I feel obligated to say a little something about it. So we want to celebrate all the women who fought tirelessly and courageously for equality and justice in this country. Just two personal stories. One, about a month or two ago, I was riding in New Brunswick. I was driving through town, and I saw Douglas College, and I said to my son, I was on the phone with him, I said, oh, when I went to college, you couldn't go to Rutgers. Rutgers didn't accept women. For 200 years, more than 200 years, Rutgers was in existence, but women couldn't go to that college. So I saw someone just shake her head. Oh, wow. Women don't know that today. They don't know what went on. And we still live through it. On a positive note, we had a fantastic basketball tournament here with women, men, young women, all playing. It was fantastic. I was out to dinner the other night. There were 4 screens up, NCAA tournaments. 2 screens had 4 teams of women, and 2 screens had 4 teams of men. So some progress is being made, but I guess in closing, I just want to say I hope in my lifetime the Equal Rights Amendment gets passed. And I hope young women will support that, as well as men. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Albanese. Councilman Hun.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the Third Ward residents who came out tonight to express their opinions, and next week we'll convene again. If you please feel free to come out and we'll discuss it some more. Have Mr. O'Connor there, and we'll contact the rest of the neighbors, as the mayor said, by mailing stuff out to them so that they're aware that they can come forth and be at that meeting so they can make comments as well to the state. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Mazzarella.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I first want to thank the residents also for coming out this evening. You certainly, it's your right to come out to express yourselves, and we all appreciate your comments and all of that. So thank you for coming out. To the gentleman that talked about backflow preventers, yes, they do work. They work very nicely, but they can be problematic, especially with wipes. They can lodge into the mechanism that flaps and keep it open, and then you'll certainly have a problem. And the other item is you have to know if you use a backflow preventer, you have to time when that flow in the road goes down in the collection system, so you don't use your facilities in your house, because if the flapper is closed because of the flow in the road is high and you use your facilities, you're going to back up into your home. So there is some due diligence that a resident has to have and do when they do install backflow preventers. But they do work, but they can be a little problematic. You just have to keep an eye on it. Lastly, to the residents, please lock your doors in your vehicles and your homes at all times. And it's very important. Don't want to have anybody enter into your vehicle or your home. So until next month, be well, God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minetti.
Thank you, Council President. First, again, thank all of you for coming out today. I do want to thank our business administrator and our finance committee for their hard work on the budget. Also, Rich O'Connor for his thorough explanation of the FEMA map. Experience in, FEMA elevations and flood zones myself, I'm glad to see that the town took, the necessary actions to, at least alert the citizens that may be affected by this. So now you have the proper tools to go on and have your voice heard, and I think that's very, very important. Last week, I had the honor of hosting the Winter Sports Awards at the high school, and I just wanted to congratulate all the students that earned their letters. It was a great night and very well attended, and I want to say congratulations. Also, as the president of Booster Club, I just want to let everyone know that we will be hosting our annual fundraiser, Crusader Night Out, which is a Havana Nights theme. That will be April 21st at the Grand Centurions from 7 to 12, and all the proceeds from that event go back to the students at the high school. So if you have a student at the high school or you have a student that's going to be attending the high school, all the money we raise for that goes back to their programs, scholarships, their letters, things like that. And finally, on a personal note, just want to wish my wife a happy 25th anniversary. So with that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Congratulations. Councilman O'Connor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the BA and all the department heads for getting the budget together. I know it's a stressful time for everybody. I also want to thank the Finance Committee, myself, which is Councilman Minetti, and Councilwoman Albanese for the time we took to review the budget with the mayor and the BA. With the weather warming up, we hear a lot about speed. Years ago, my daughter, myself, and my son were just riding our bikes down the sidewalk, and I said, time to go home. My daughter turned down the driveway and just went out right into the street without looking. She got hit by a car. Fortunately, the car was going the speed limit. The driver was not on his cell phone, was able to stop, bumped her, knocked her off her bike, no injuries. Went to the hospital as a preventative measure. But again, it's that simple. If you're not paying attention or if you're speeding, simple mistakes made by kids can be lifelong devastating mistakes. So please drive the speed limit. Pay attention, stay off your cell phone. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Toll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Flooding. The last time I even thought about flooding in this town was during Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy. That's when the Parkway was underwater, and that's over near you guys, the north end of town. It makes no sense what the state of New Jersey is doing. They never do it right. So let's keep our voices being heard so they do it right. So I'll leave it at that. Did I hear about it? Yeah, I heard about it. And you know what? It's stupid. Well, what else is new? It's the state of New Jersey. They do everything wrong. You guys are right for coming out and voicing your opinions and being here for us. We'll tell you, do what you ask. For those we lost in the last month, in August, a 75-year resident of Clark, the founder of Clark Softball and Clark Wildcats Softball Association. She was employed at GAF in Clark. If anybody remembers what GAF was? Teresa Trozinski, loving mother of Andrew, my neighbor, and Ginger, mother-in-law to Ginger, and grandmother to Andy, Kelly, and Kristen, my neighbors, and a friend. Barbara Makanowski, a 60-year resident of Clark and a parishioner of St. John's. Mrs. Arlene Allen, longtime English teacher of ALJ and devoted parishioner of St. Agnes Church, a true friend to all. If you knew this lady, she was always there for everybody, and what a kind soul. God called her home. Mrs. Elizabeth Biss, longtime resident of Clark, beloved mother of Eileen, Sharon, Carol, and Stephen, and Diane. And to the Biss family, I knew your mother, I knew the father. Longtime Clark residents, they cared, and that's what I'm going to leave it at. They cared. She cared. She always was there. If she had a problem, she called the husband, who died a couple years ago, always called me, why aren't you doing this? And that's what Clark's all about. If you have a question, you want something done, you feel something should be done, then you ask. Mrs. Ann Sarnecki, longtime resident of Clark, a former employee of Clark Foodtown Supermarket on Westfield Avenue, beloved mother of Robert Sarnecki and Kenny, and the Sarnecki clan. If you knew Clark, we went to school, all of us went to school with a Sarnecki, and they were always a part of this town, and our condolences on the passing of their mother. I'm not going to get into traffic and permit parking right now tonight. I'll talk about it in the next reading and the final reading. But if anybody ever feels uncomfortable or doesn't feel right, or your daughter feels uncomfortable, call 911. That's what they're there for, to come out and resolve and make sure everyone's safe in this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Jim?
I just want to just bring a little information to everybody, and, talking about the sewers. We recently replaced a sewer on New York Avenue due to damage that was performed by a contractor, and the work there alone was over $500,000. So take that and extrapolate it through the whole town. To do something, it would be in the hundreds of millions of dollars to, do that. The other thing I just want to bring up is tomorrow is National Common Courtesy Day. So let's all practice National Common Courtesy Day. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Counselor?
No comment.
All right, and I have no further comments this evening. Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
It's okay,
How
no
could I
comments.
forget about
Thank you.
All the talking you did tonight. You're good?
Good.
All right, thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Toll. Councilwoman Albanese, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?